Hi guys, my name is JoJo, and this is my You Be the Expert video on Socrates. So to start off a little bit about Socrates, he was born between 469 and 470 BCE. His parents were a sculptor named Socrates and a midwife named Phaerete. So he was born to them, and then he went to study just regular topics. The popular ones in Greece at the time were music, gymnastics, and grammar. After he finished with his schooling, he learned to be a sculptor under his father, and there was a famous statue on the road to Athens that was called the Graces that was pretty popular for about 1,000 years. So after that, he ended up serving in the army, and he was renowned for his actions at the Battle of Poitiers, where he saved the life of a general. And then after he ended his time in the military, he ended up getting married to a woman named Xanthippe when he was aged 50 years old, and later had 3 sons who were often described as dull and nothing like their father. So around the time that he ended up starting a family, one of his friends, Chaphron, went to the famous oracle at Delphi to ask a question. And the question he decided to ask is if there was anyone wiser than Socrates, to which the oracle replied none. So, kind of unnerved by this answer, Socrates decided he was going to go around and try and prove the oracle wrong. So he started questioning people who were thought to be wise, and he found that the people whose reputation for being wise in their fields were the highest of the reputations, mostly were lacking in wisdom. So he started going around teaching and interpreting what he thought wisdom would be, and started gaining a following. So what he liked to do was basically, he just liked to live his life and do what he thought was best. And that wasn't really the thing at the time. It was more of, you had social rules that you had to follow, and you were supposed to do specific things based on your profession, and he wasn't really doing that. He was going around and doing what would make him happier and things like that. And this ended up making him an inspiration to the people that were following him. But because of how he was living, he was breaking social rules, which actually would be considered a crime at the time. So one of the higher-ups in the city that he had actually previously offended decided to charge him with the crime of breaking the law of the social behaviors. And the charge, if he was found guilty, would be death. So at the time, there was no lawyers, so you could, if you wanted to, hire someone to write a speech for you to help you prove your innocence, but at the time, Socrates decided he was going to represent himself. Eventually, the trial found him guilty, and at age 70, he was killed. So Socrates had a couple of bigger ideas that he's more known for. The biggest of these is the Socratic method. He was a big believer in methodical and organized thinking, which is the reason that we have the Socratic method, is that's what it's all about. So that was the biggest thing that he pushed. And then the other things that he was really known for was his thought that the truth was hidden within the mind. And this is kind of combined in his other ideas, which was that all virtues are combined. So the ancient Greeks believed in different virtues such as justice, wisdom, courage, and so forth, things that we also believe in. And he believed that they were all combined and worked towards each other. So the more justice and wisdom you had, the more courage you had, so on. And then the other thing that he really believed was that no one errs knowingly. And what that means is that he believed that people could not choose to do wrong. So if they did wrong, it wasn't their fault. It was their failure to know the correct thing to do. So it was their ignorance about knowing what is right to do. So he believed that if someone did something wrong, it wasn't because they were doing wrong knowingly, it's because they didn't know the right action to take. So all of these things he explained very well in organized and methodical manners, which is why we also do the same thing when laying out new theories, which is the Socratic method. So the other question is, how does psychology today reflect the ideas and thoughts of Socrates? So the first one that I recognized right off the bat was one of the persistent questions of psychology is, do we or do we not have free will? And this really ties into a lot of his ideas of how virtues work together, as well as the thing that I talked about before, no one errs knowingly, which explains that it's not necessarily a purposeful error, but an ignorance of what the right action would be. And this also shows the question of, do we purposely do wrong? Do we have free will? Which is something that is constantly talked about, how much environment has effect on our actions and our behaviors. The other biggest thing that he brought was the idea of the Socratic method, the methodical organization and thinking when we're doing research or coming across new ideas. That helps us keep organized and keep our ideas in a manner that we can explain easily to others. Okay, that's the end of my video. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys learned a little bit more about who Socrates was and his influence on the way that we view psychology today.